Notoriety. When you have the desire for fame and notoriety and you combine it with a complete lack of priorities and values and principles, you've got a mess on your hands. Last night I asked you, what did you think on September 11th or September 12th was the most important thing? I can guarantee you it wasn't fame, it wasn't notoriety, it wasn't any of those things. What was it? I made my list yesterday on the board. It's on the other side, doesn't matter. It's God, it's family, it's country. That's what I wrote down. That's what I knew was important on September 11th. We were wounded on September 11th, but the state of our union was strong. Suddenly, we didn't care about left or right. We didn't care about liberal or conservative. We cared about the truth. We were all in a melting pot together. We knew we weren't going to make it without each other. We prayed together. We worried together. We stood together. We cried together. Today, is God a top priority? Or how many followers we have on Twitter? Is it family? Or is it the latest status update on Facebook? Is it country? Or is it, what stuff does he have that I don't have? It's not YouTube or talk radio or cable news or anything that creates this mentality. We have played this video several times, and it still amazes me each and every time. Listen.
You know today how much money you're getting?
No, I won't, but I'm waiting for a phone call.
Where's the money coming from?
I believe it's coming from the city of Detroit or the state.
Where did they get it from?
Some funds that was given by Obama.
And where did Obama get the funds?
Obama might have gotten the funds from, I have no idea. To tell you the truth, he's the president.
And they just go on and, Obama. They don't even know where the money originates from. They don't say, I need this money. It's the difference between feeding my kids or not feeding them. They just want, as they call it later in that, Obama cash. Now, I'm not just singling them out. They just happen to be on tape saying it. Everyone struggles with want and money, because there's always something out there that you can't get, but you want. You don't have the money for it. I hate to beat a dead horse, but this is exactly what Edward Bernays did to us beginning in the 1920s. His goal, his stated goal, was to take us away from a country that had control of themselves, and they bought what they needed and focused us into a country that just focused on our wants. Well, gang, we're here. That's what we are. That's what we are now. And it's a road paved in fortune and notoriety and instant gratification without a single exit or road sign for God, country, or family. And when that happens, you end up where we are. You end up at a place where you've got a mom beating another person up on a bus in front of their children. The state of our union is not good. Unless we recognize it and recognize that government can never fix this. How do you unite people when it's come to this? I can't even begin to relate to somebody who will leave their child behind. If you're in danger, that's one thing. But to do this in front of your children, my gosh, that broke my heart. I am tired of being told that I have to understand why somebody would do this. I don't have to understand that. No, I don't. The only one that needs to understand how they could do this is them. The only person that needs to understand it is them. It is not relative, it is criminal. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, a spokesperson from the Police Officers Union says that officers all feel like there is a war on cops now. 15 fatalities this month alone. 11 shot in 24-hour period this week. In 2010, cop killings were already up 40%. Why? Criminals say they no longer are afraid to kill cops. They wear it as a badge of honor, just to show how tough they are. Do you know why you can shoot a cop or beat somebody at Wendy's? Why you can call neighbors enemies because they voted for a different person? Because we no longer see people as human beings. All of these officers were human. But the people who shot them only saw them as cops or a badge of honor or somebody standing in their way. For the majority of the population, cops have always been viewed as protectors. They certainly weren't in the South in the 50s and the 60s and even before then. But we now live in a system where bad cops go to jail. And yet there are still people that are pushing the view and indoctrinating that cops are just standing in the way. They're an oppressor for a system that's rigged against you. If you watch this program, you know that anger is not accidental. Now, there is no evidence that any of these cops have been killed by the radicals on the right or the left. So far, it just seems like cold-blooded, get-out-of-my-way kind of killers, even though people on the right, a militia which we will talk about, have already called for the killing of cops. And so has the left. I don't know which is worse, those cops that kill for a distorted reason of politics or those that kill a cop just because they can. But I fear this is a precursor of things to come. And we must now take an inventory of ourselves and look at the real state of our union. I can't explain why, really, but other than this network, the tragedy that is unfolding across the nation with our police officers isn't exactly being treated as front page news. Others are covering it. But this is really amazing what's happening. 15 fatalities already in 2011, 11 people shot in 24 hours. In 2010, we saw a 40% increase in officer fatalities. A spokesperson for the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund said, quote, "There seems to be a more brazen criminal out there. Law enforcement officers, because of their uniforms, have become targets. There's a criminal element that is completely intent on killing a cop just so they can say, 'I killed a cop.'" I know in some circles they're referred to as pigs. I hated that in the 60s, and it's back. No, they're humans, and some of the very best, and maybe some should have a reminder of that. So here it is. One of the officers that was shot and killed was a 27-year-old man named Christopher Matlois. He was described as a devoted son, a brother, a soulmate to his fiancée, Kelly. He was a proud member of the Lakewood Police Department in New Jersey. According to authorities, while he was on duty, he responded to a call about 5 o'clock. He drove up to Jamel Crockham's house, and it's actually a housing development. He was familiar with Crockham. It was a routine stop, and according to all reports, it was non-confrontational. And then, in the middle of it, Crockham stepped back, pulled out a gun, and shot Chris 3 times, execution style, at point-blank range. Chris was set to be married in 2012. His fiancée, Kelly, delivered the eulogy.
His big smile, contagious laugh, his hilarious jokes made him the perfect best friend and soulmate I could ever have. I question God every day why he would take Chris away from me. But I know he is still giving me the same strength, courage, and bravery he had serving as a police officer.
God didn't take him away. Then there's 55-year-old Ralph Painter. He was the chief of police in a small town called Rainier, Oregon. He was 55 years old. He died in the line of duty the 5th of this month. He was a loving husband. He has 7 children. He was a hunter, a fisherman, a marathon runner. He was a musician. He served on the city council. Most people in his town loved him. His town is small, 1,600 people. He was just responding to a call from a local car stereo shop. A man was trying to take a car that wasn't his. The guy just wanted somebody else's stuff. It's mine. When the chief got there, the suspect wouldn't let up. There was a struggle. And the man was able to grab the chief's gun. Then he shot him at close range. He shot at other responding officers before he was arrested. The guy just wanted a car, a stupid car. Now, 7 children don't have their dad. A town lost one of their treasured leaders, all over stuff. This is why I've told you the story of the Tower of Babel so many times recently. We're headed for trouble. And the mortar between the bricks, do you remember, that unified, was stuff. It was materialism. That's what I've been worried about. What happens to the state of our union when more people, or even most people, no longer have stuff? Tonight I'm talking to you a little bit about the state of our union, and right now focused on the violence against our police officers. It has risen 40%. 15 deaths across the country just in the past week with police officers getting shot and killed. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from many places, but we saw the beginning of some of it back in Arizona in April. Just disregard for the cops. Immigration. This protest turns ugly when the cops try to remove a man who supported the state's controversial law. The protesters were throwing bottles at the police. Do you remember seeing the pictures and the video of the God hates fags people that were protesting, and the police officers were standing there protecting those dirt bags? Do you think the cops wanted to? They protect both sides. They do a lot of crap they don't want to do. The attempted assassin in Missouri, the one you'd never heard of. Nobody mentioned it until we mentioned it this week. It happened in September. This dirtbag tried to slash the throat of Missouri's governor. He only lives today because he got the wrong guy. He also, before that, spit on cops. He went across the border to Canada, to the G20, spit on cops in Toronto. He hated cops. We've seen chaos and rioting now all around the world. Do you remember Prince Charles and Lady Camilla being attacked in England? Back in December, protesters were angry about an increase in university fees. Police say they were using, to attack the police, flares, sticks, paintballs, rocks. A dozen officers were hurt. In Canada over the summer, more than 400 people were arrested. The anti-G20 protest became violent. What a surprise. Revolutionaries, Marxists, communist, rocks, bricks, bottles, thrown all at the cops. 4 police cars were set on fire. In Greece, in May, gas bombs were thrown at police while rioters called themselves thieves. 3 people, including a pregnant woman, were killed when the bank was set on fire. And that wasn't the only bank. There are ongoing riots now in Tunisia. The riots now have spread to Yemen. Here's the latest from Egypt. They're shutting down Twitter and Facebook in response to the rioting there. There's just far too much information out available to us now, isn't there? Fall to your knees and pray for Israel today. God help them. God help them if Egypt falls. And I'm not a fan of Mubarak. Let me show you a cartoon from the 60s. It's a Black Panther cartoon with a caption, "The only good pig is a dead pig." This is a kid shooting a police officer. It leads to things, we don't have that. I can't even say that. I can't show you that today. But it leads to things like this. Rallies in support of the convicted cop killer, Mumia Abu-Jamal. Storm, the Ella Baker Center, Van Jones, all participate in rallies when they're standing up for a guy who kills a cop. I stand by my pledge tonight. The Hutari militia that claims to be on the right, that claims to say we are going to kill cops, and Francis Fox Piven, who claims to be on the left, who says we need riots like that in America, are dangerous. Nobody listened to me in 1999 when I said, Osama bin Laden will attack the city of New York. Will you fight him when there is blood and bodies in the streets of New York? Nobody listened to me. Nobody listened. And is anybody really listening now? There are enemies in this country, but it's not us. Not us. The Hutaris, the extreme left,